All right, Matt, kicking off our main event prediction for UFC Norfolk. And hey, I started the 2-minute timer, but that's wrong. We do 5 minutes, especially when they're main events for a title. And listen, we have a great fight in our main event for the vacant flyweight title that was vacated by your former champ, Henry Cejudo. Forced out and a long time off due to injury. His next fight is going to be at 135 against, and you can roll your eyes and facepalm as much as you want, it's going to be against Jose Aldo coming up in May. So what we get here at flyweight is a fight that's been a long time in the making. You have Deiveson Figueiredo, ranked third, taking on your number one ranked Joseph Benavidez. Matt, we talked about this off air. Is Joseph Benavidez the best fighter in MMA that's never fought for a title?
I mean, it really comes down to him, Gustafsson, or Yoel Romero, and those are really the only guys.
Well, Romero fought for a title, though.
He fought
never
for
won.
So did Benavidez. That's what I mean.
Benavidez never won.
All of those guys fought for titles and never won. And those are who I'd probably say. Benavidez is a strong case because if you look at who 4 of his 5 losses are to, they're 2 of the greatest fighters ever, Dominic Cruz and Demetrius Mighty Bench Johnson. So like they're very forgivable losses. And even the Sergio Pettis one, I know he got dropped. Yeah, he got dropped early on, but that was coming off a long layoff. He had a lot of injuries before that, so it's kind of a forgivable one too. And ever since he has been somewhat active, I know he's taken a little bit of time off before this fight. He's looked amazing. Joseph Benavidez has everything. He's got great boxing, great kickboxing, really good wrestling, phenomenal jiu-jitsu. There's not really an aspect of MMA he doesn't do well, and that was the problem. When you're a really well-rounded fighter, and let's say you do everything out of 10, you're like a 9 at everything. The only problem was Demetrius Johnson, who's a 10 at everything, was ahead of him, and he only lost to that guy in the division.
And Dominic Cruz was so good with his footwork and his boxing and kickboxing as well. It's just so hard to beat him, especially the fact that he was really, really big at 135. So he's going to be taking on Deiveson Figueiredo in this fight. And Brazil's Figueiredo, since he's been with the UFC, I mean, his overall record 17-1. He's 6-1 in the UFC. The one loss was a really wonky one that came at the start of 2019 to UCA Formiga, who just so happens just Benavidez beat in his last fight. Now, mind you, that was 8 months ago, and you had mentioned it. Long layoff, but it was a stoppage win in the third round against a really tough out in UCA Formiga. I mean, at the top of this division, it's almost log-jammed, and yeah, of course, due to Henry Cejudo and his inactivity, but it's Formiga, Benavidez, and Figueiredo, and you could throw those guys into title fights as much as you want while everybody else battles it out, but men's flyweight right now is so much fun, and this is one of those fights that really capitalizes on that. And even look at our last card in Auckland. You had Kai Kara France taking on Tyson Nam. What a great fight. Exactly. Like, that was one of the best fights on that card. We've seen a lot of activity out of these guys at 125, and just great that we get a fight like this. So, Matt, if we look over at the odds just quickly, you've got Joseph Benavidez, a slight minus 140 favorite to Deiveson Figueiredo's plus 115 at a 651 votes over on Tapology. The fans are picking Joseph Benavidez, an overwhelming majority, going with 76%. 71% believe he's going to win by decision. Matt, this is a great fight, and like you had said, if Benavidez is, and he's not totally declining, he's over 35, which is surprising in some of these lower weight classes. You normally see guys retire a little bit earlier, maybe not Uriah Faber, Brad Pickett, whoever, but still, especially at 125, you do. So he's good at everything. Deiveson Figueiredo, though, is such a good striker, and you really have to worry about that in this fight.
Oh, he's got dynamite in his hands, and that's the problem. Benavidez, for as good of a grappler as he is, he's still an amazing striker, and he can outstrike most guys 4 or 5 rounds like it's nothing. But Figueiredo has such big power that if you do play that game, it's just a matter of time before you get caught. We've seen Joseph Benavidez, he does have a really good chin, but a guy who's a sniper like Sergio Pettis was able to catch him and put him down. And Deiveson Figueiredo, he has a lot of the same skills as Sergio Pettis, but the one big difference is he has massive knockout power. And if you're caught with that same shot, Figueiredo's going to put you down and you're probably going to go out. But here's the thing. Figueiredo is really good and has that big power for about 2 rounds. And then what happens in the third? He starts to decline. Whereas Benavidez takes 2 rounds, he'll kind of download his opponent's information, and then round 3, 4, and 5, if not even 2, he's going to ramp up his output. He's going to figure out what you do wrong.
That's the really tough thing here, because as good of a striker as Figueiredo is, he hasn't really been into the deep waters like Joseph Benavidez has. And we talk about those fights, the Pettis loss, the 2 to Johnson, the 2 to Cruz. He's been in 5-round fights before.
He beat Henry Cejudo.
He beat Henry Cejudo as well. So, yeah, I take that for what it is, but
it's pretty good.
Really, it is pretty good. So, if you look at this fight, it's really tough to try and predict once you get into the nuts and bolts like that. If you look at Deiveson Figueiredo, you look at the power. Well, then you have to wonder, is his hand speed as good as another light guy who has a lot of power in John Dodson? Does he have hand speed like that? No. So then you really start to have to worry, because Sergio Pettis was able to pot shots in. He was able to move in and out quite well in that fight. And like you said, drop Benavidez. Yes, it was a split decision win. I know when we watched it, hindsight's 2020, but I'm quite sure that we both had Pettis to win that.
Pettis did a little bit more damage, but Benavidez was able to take him down at will, and that's the problem. Even if Figueiredo does have success on the feet, Benavidez just go, okay, I'm going to take him down. And he's such a good wrestler. He's got power doubles, single legs, and he chain wrestles too. It's not just go for the shot, can't get it, get back up to the feet. It's I use my first shot to get to the second one, to the third, and you're eventually going to go down. Figueiredo has a very good chance of winning by knockout in the first 2 rounds. I can't stress that enough. I am going to pick Benavidez, but I do need to preface that with the fact that Figueiredo has such big power, and he's such a strong guy, that no matter what happens, the first 10 minutes is crazy dangerous for Benavidez. But as the fight wears on, the hand speed of Benavidez, which is absurd, is going to catch up to Figueiredo. And by that second round, a few more shots are going to start landing for Benavidez. And I feel like that's just going to be a snowball effect throughout round 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to go with a very uncommon prediction. It could even be a Benavidez doctor stoppage just due to an accumulation of damage. We could see that throughout the fight, but I am going to pick Benavidez. I feel like he's finally going to get the title. That's always just been, a half step ahead of him, and it will be nice to see if he is able to get it, I guess.
Be great to see a Benavidez win. This is a really tough one. This is a flip of a coin because there's very distinct ways for each of these guys to win. Do you think there's a chance that Benavidez could take the fight to the ground and end up winning by submission? I mean, Figueiredo only has 1 loss, so it's kind of tough that way.
If you look at what Juicy Formiga was able to do to Figueiredo, he was able to kind of mix it up and just wear him out. That's the big problem with Figueiredo. He gets tired, and it's not like a Yoel Romero tired where they look tired but they're kind of peacocking the whole time. No, he gets tired and he drops off a cliff. His output goes down, his power goes down. I know in the Pantoja fight he was able to kind of keep it throughout the whole fight and land big power shots throughout the majority of it, but I feel like if you look at what Pantoja does well and what Benavidez does well, Benavidez is sort of like a beefed up version of Pantoja, so the same shots are going to be able to land, and I feel like it is going to be a win for Benavidez. This has fight of the night written all over it though, just because both guys have some of the more exciting styles in UFC.
Really looking forward to it. Also going to be taking Joseph Benavidez in this one. Finally think he's going to be able to get the crown. I had the crown from last week and the Fight Night Picks trophy for the predictions. We want to know what your predictions are in the comments. Let us know who you think is going to win this fight, but also with all the fights, you're really helping us out. And if you want to check out the rest of the predictions, the 2 minutes for the main card and the prelims, including our 5 minutes for our main event, like we just did for UFC Norfolk and Fight Night Picks, Matt, as we always say, let's get in.